The first sign was so small I almost ignored it. Just a tiny thing, barely worth noticing. At the time, it felt like one of those forgettable moments in a normal day, the kind you shrug off without another thought. But looking back, I keep wondering how different things might have been if I had paid attention right then. If I had stopped, really looked, and questioned what I was seeing. Because if I had kept ignoring it, I don't know how long it would have continued, or how much worse it could have gotten. I lived alone in a second-floor apartment. Nothing fancy, nothing run down, just a regular place. The building was older, but it had a reputation for being safe. Keyed entry at the front door, a locked stairwell, only 6 units total. The kind of building where tenants nod to each other in the hallway, but don't really talk. That suited me just fine. I'd been living there for about 6 months without a single issue. My routine was simple, predictable. Work during the day, gym most evenings, home by 9. Dinner, shower, maybe some TV. Nothing unusual, nothing dramatic, just quiet, normal life. The kind of life where you expect every morning to look exactly like the one before. And for a long time, it did. The first odd thing happened on a Tuesday. I woke up, walked into the hallway, and saw my bathroom light was on. I always turn it off before bed. Always. But I tried not to overthink it. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I got distracted. A few days later, when I came home from work, my kitchen cabinet was open. Not wide, but just enough to notice. Enough to make me pause. I stared at it longer than I probably needed to, replaying my morning in my head. Had I been in the cabinet? Did I forget to close it? It seemed possible, but something about it didn't sit right. So I started double-checking things before bed. Lights off. Stove off. Cabinets closed. Door locked. A new routine layered on top of the old one. I told myself I was just being responsible. But part of me knew I was keeping watch, without knowing exactly what for. Then the moment came I couldn't explain away. One night before bed, I tested my front door handle 3 times. Locked. I remember doing it clearly because I said it out loud. Locked. Like speaking the word helped confirm it in my mind. But the next morning, when I walked into the living room, the lock was turned. The door was closed, but it was unlocked. My stomach dropped. It wasn't open. It wasn't broken, just unlocked. I stood there staring at it for a long time, trying to convince myself I had made a mistake, that I had imagined locking it, that I was remembering the night wrong, but I wasn't. And when my hand shook while I locked it again, I understood what the fear really meant. Someone had been inside my home while I slept. While I slept. That night, I barely slept. Every small sound seemed louder than usual. The hum of the refrigerator, the settling of the building, the occasional car outside. All of it felt threatening. Around 2 a.m., I heard something from the living room. A soft click, like a door latch being tested, or a door closing slowly. I froze. I didn't get up, didn't move. I just sat in bed listening while my heart pounded so hard it hurt. I knew I should get up. I knew I should check. But I couldn't make myself walk into that darkness. So I stayed in bed until morning, barely breathing, waiting for the sun to make my apartment feel normal again. When I finally walked into the living room, I stopped dead. One of my dining chairs was pulled out from the table. Not just a little, fully out. Like someone had sat there or stood up quickly and forgot to push it back. Nothing else was touched. Nothing was missing. The front door was locked. But that didn't matter. The chair was enough. It meant someone had been inside while I was home, while I was sleeping. My skin went cold. I remember thinking, this is real. This is actually happening. That day, I went out and bought a small camera. Just a simple device, motion activated, easy to hide. I set it up facing the door. I told myself I was being paranoid, but I needed to know. I needed proof of what my brain kept trying to deny. The next morning, before leaving work, I checked the footage. At 2:17 a.m., the door opened. Slowly. I felt my whole body tense. A man stepped inside. Not hurried, not nervous. He moved like he'd done it before, like he belonged there. He walked through the living room and out of frame. While I watched, I realized I had stopped breathing. My chest felt tight. I had to pause the video just to steady myself. When I pressed play again, he came back a few moments later, stepped out, and quietly locked the door behind him. Like it was routine. I called the police immediately. They took it seriously, much more seriously than I expected. They inspected the lock and found signs of tampering, like tiny scratches and marks along the keyhole. Someone had been using a copied key or something else close to it. They asked if I wanted to stay somewhere else. I didn't hesitate. I stayed with a friend that night, and I never went back alone. They never caught him. I moved out within a week, and now I live somewhere new, somewhere brighter, newer, safer. But I still check my locks more than I should. I still wake up some nights thinking I heard a door open. And sometimes I lie awake wondering how long it would have continued if I hadn't noticed that very first small sign.